Greetings and welcome to the Raw Approach. I am Dr. Woods, and I want to welcome each and every one of you on this day, this Wednesday. Greetings unto you. We have the infamous Dr. Rubin Cockrell, and at this moment in time, I want to have Dr. Cockrell to come in and introduce himself so you all can get affiliated with the man that I have learned to know. Dr. Cockrell, it's on you.
Thank you. I appreciate Dr. Woods for you inviting me as a guest on the show. My story is get right into it. I went from drug trafficking to getting a doctorate degree, and when I was younger, I made some foolish choices. However, within making those foolish choices, at the time, I had a skill setting and people saw something within me that I didn't see within myself. And I got a second chance in life. And that experience allowed me to have a stepping stone and stumbling block experience. However, I progressed, was able to move forward. Fast forward now, I've been blessed as a retired professor. I have 11 books out, owners in several businesses, and have done training, part of the curriculum I've created in 60 countries around the world. And so I tell people I've been blessed. I relate from the street to the elite, the classroom to the boardroom. So I appreciate you once again, Dr. Woods. Dr. Woods and I taught at University of Phoenix for several years together, as well as had the opportunity to do some intentional work. And I say it was with intention in the Juvenile Justice Center here in Nashville. So it's like a reunion. Appreciate you inviting me, and it's glad to be here.
Oh man, I appreciate that, and I'm sure that the audience is going to enjoy and hear more of your story and everything that you have going on, man. Especially when you said 60 countries. Did you ever imagine that you'd be that popular?
Man, it's just a blessing, man. I knew I was called on a global scale earlier on in life. And so there's a humble level of expectation versus wanting. And so having those seeds planted earlier on, I knew I was called to a global scale in terms of doing business and just being a individual where I could have different ways of approaching countries and nonprofit organizations, which are called NGOs on an international level, and do work.
I just learned that.
Yeah, and do work, do work in different countries. So I've been blessed with that opportunity, and it's like a whole nother degree. But within those opportunities, it allowed me the opportunity to learn about countries firsthand. And as leaders, we can impress from afar, but we impact people's lives up close and personal. And so a lot of these countries, the U.S. government, particularly with military bases, they have articulation agreements with their countries where they hire a certain pool of natives for that country, and they work hand in hand with the HR or with the Department of Labor for those countries, and pay a certain percentage of, and the employee has to pay a percentage of back to that country. And this is something the U.S. has had established for years, which plays a part of them setting up certain pools in different countries. And so, just had some unique experiences within those countries, from Europe, Asia, Cuba, all throughout Africa, and some in the Middle East, that really just opened up my eyes and ears to beyond what's shown on TV, but to really understand and learn Eastern culture coming from Western culture. A very humbling moment in time.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, you're teaching me a lot of stuff, especially on the international level. And as I continue to learn this process of dealing with the NGO and the expectations of what other countries expect, So let me ask you this. We're just going to dive right on into it.
Yeah.
As busy as you are, how do you, well, we're going to get to that in a minute. How do you balance work-life balance?
Well, my focus is not working towards work-life balance, but what I call work-life harmony.
Okay.
And so for me, I have a life equation that I operate off of. It's called I to the third power equals P to the second power. How can I make an impact, be influential, and create incomes equal operating in purpose, drop down, based upon core values and principles, and be profitable, which equals social entrepreneurship. So I try to center my activities personally, professionally, and civically in those realms. When I have my involvements are not even like work to me because it's part of mission, purpose, and passion.
Absolutely.
So that's a major focus for me. However, having the times, the pace, be in the moments, and practice mindfulness in that space. Because a lot of times when you're very self-motivated, goal-oriented, you focus on the end result and then you move on to the next task. Focus on the end result. However, I have learned and I'm learning that the process is just as important than achieving the goal.
I think a lot of people come on and for me, there was an education part that I had to grasp for myself. It was trusting the process. And you identified in I think your commercial talking about your book, and I'm gonna let you go into that here in just a second. Mastering your own table.
Yes.
And it's a lot of critical information that you talk about. Just put it out there for the folks.
Yeah.
Tell them how they can get the book.
Well, you can get the book at my website on www.drrcockrell.com. That's 2 R's. So drrcockrell.com. I've been really blessed and fortunate to have 8 children's books and then have 3 adult books out. So actually, this is my latest book that's come out a couple of weeks ago, but I have actually 3 other adult books. And really, those books are very much. Those books were written to help educate, enrich, and enhance people's lives. But particularly since we're on Master Your Own Table, when you look at today's society, and really the focus is on how do you transforming setbacks into strengths and changing your life to be unstoppable. And as I mentioned earlier, in life, we go through various trials and tribulations, and in our lives, we have stumbling blocks and stepping stones. They're both equally as important. And so I talk about, a lot of times we're talking about what do you have at the table or what's going on, but it's about having the self-efficacy, believing in yourself, and creating your own table, designing your own table, having enough self-love, self-worth, how to design your own table. And what does that table look like? What does your foundational pieces look like? What do you want as far as aesthetically at your table? And then who do you want to sit at your table? Because there's an old expression that you're either at the table or you're on the menu, one way or the other. And so what does that look like for you? And here I talk about practical application with my experiences all around the world. I talk about personal and professional experiences. Talk about, as far as successes and failures, but how to fail forward and be able to move forward and deal with grief and grief of loss and other experiences and how to look at those experiences as life course correction and realizing that sometimes it can be your time, but not your turn. However, when it's your time and turn, it exponentially makes up for anything that you thought you may have lost. Out of preparation.
Yes. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. A couple of things. One of the things that you said in your commercial, you stated sometimes the process is more important than achieving the goal.
Yes.
Explain that to the folks.
Well, the process, sometimes we have to, we look at zero, and then look at 100. And if I don't get there, that's the only thing I focus on. But sometimes you got to break that down and say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Sometimes you got to focus on 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30. And in each of those increments, celebrate your progression. However, to take time out with intentionality to examine, okay, what went well? You know, do what's called a SWOT analysis they do in business. Look at your strengths, opportunities, and threats of you progressing in 10, progressing in increments of 10. Well, you're being in the moment to celebrate, but yet examine those areas of 10, and it's ultimately leading to your own goal of getting to 100. Because sometimes we focus on 10 plus 0 equaling 10, but sometimes we have to take a step back and realize, you know what, 6 plus 4, 7 plus 3, 8 plus 2, 9 plus 1.
10.
Multiple ways to achieve your goals. However, being open, being objective, realizing that, you know, I may not be able to do it alone, but I need to find the right resources. Being able to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Being willing to learn behaviors in order to go from good to great to excellence, and above and beyond. It's not the big steps, it's the little steps of being persistently consistent in whatever that I'm called to do or whatever I want to do. So it asks the fundamental question, how do I go from vision to execution? Because a lot of times we get drunk off the vision, but never move forward with the vision to execution. The stair steps going from vision to execution is action steps, bit by bit. So I talk about that as far as being able to master your own table, and not being so much worried about being invited to the table. If you're not invited, it may be time to create your own table.
Create your own table.
Yeah.
You know what I like about that is my personal slogan, and it's good that we talk. We are actually communicating on that same level. My personal slogan is small victories lead to greater success. And just like you said, how do you do the elephant one bite at a time? And I think it's very important for people to understand that is one of the biggest keys to success. Like I tell people, you can't start working out today and expect to be in a bodybuilding competition tomorrow.
Right.
You got to put in the work to get where you got to go. All right, let me ask you this. Do you feel it is important to know when to leave the table?
Yes. You know, it goes back to the old song. You got to know when to hold and when to hold them and when to hold them. Playing those cards. You know, just like jumping on those cards. And you can stay too long because every person, place, or opportunity is in your life for a season, singular, seasons, plural, or lifetimes.
That's it.
You have to be in turn, discern, and be in tune to how long that period it is. And so, yes, I do think you can overextend your welcome, or every moment is a stepping stone or a letter of credit to build to what is next.
Because I think on your video, I'm telling you, man, I think that was a very good video. On your video, you was talking about, don't quote me, and I'm just giving the snippets. You were talking about when you at that table, sometimes you might be invited. But I think the assumption was, okay, you just because you're invited don't mean you're really at the table.
Right. I talk about you can be invited but not welcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a fundamental difference. You may be invited out of pressure. You may be invited out of a formality. However, when you get to that quote unquote table, you may get overlooked in conversation, overlooked an opportunity, overlooked. And so you have some decisions to make in terms of, is it digging deep? Is it on me? Is it closed mouth doesn't get fed? Is it you don't get paid what you worth, you get paid what you negotiate? You know, these are things that you have to see. Or may be a stepping stone to realize, okay, this was to plant the seed to learn from, learn what to do, what not to do, so that then I can create my own table. And then pull other individuals in.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. When you was identifying that you may not be welcome, but you may be invited out of pressure. Explain that piece.
So
somebody invited you out of pressure.
It may be out of pressure of numbers or a quota. Maybe a quota where we got to invite. We don't really want to, but we got to invite a situation like that. That could be, and you can tell. I mean, you can tell by the spirit, the vibe, the frequency in that room. That's why it's key. As we talk about it as former educators, is key. You know, the buzzword education is to have that reflection time. They call it reflection on one end and meditation on the other end. They're all the same thing, but it's key to have what I call positively selfish time daily that you have to take those small elements to realize, what went well, what didn't go well, what are the learning points of stepping into the next day, and have that time to process things. Because usually when we look at situations of boulders and challenges we have, it start off as pebbles and stepping stones. And if we don't address them earlier on, they expand and get bigger.
Step back 1 second and explain a little bit more detail about that positively selfish time. Because I don't think a lot of people understand that, and they might think that's a negative, but show how that's really a positive situation.
Well, here's the thing, Dr. Woods. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And there are industries of being in where as you're depositing out, you're being withdrawn out of. And if you don't take that time out to have some coping mechanisms in place to what I call recharge, renew, become rejuvenated, then you will have a negative emotional balance, which you're no good for yourself, no good for a significant other, no good for your children, no good in so many aspects of where you shortchange yourself. And so you have to have that time with intentionality to pour back into you, which is what I slate as positively selfish time, and have mechanisms in place that can do that recharging, renewing, rejuvenating, so that you become refreshed in whatever that you do. And those mechanisms may be different by having multiple, what I call coping mechanisms. Because if not, there is a thing called duality where you'll have polar opposite viewpoints. So you could be highly functional and highly depressed at the same time. You could be an extrovert and not want to be around people. These things can go on. And so it's nothing bad with having polar opposite viewpoints and emotions. What's more important is still going in tune of where you are, or knowledgeable enough seeking the resources that can help you in terms of that holistic standpoint, resources, support that can help you in your endeavors, both personally as well as professionally.
All right, got one more. On your website, when you explain mastering your own table, it states, whether you're navigating the challenges of the streets, the classroom, or the boardroom, this book empowers you to embrace your unique journey and rise above the setbacks that hold you back. Give us a little insight on that right there.
Well, I think it's key because with my adult books, I write them from a practitioner standpoint, where I have people from the street to the elite classroom to the boardroom that I interact with all the time in terms of providing tools or having conversations and resources. And I think it's key that we get out of our own way in terms of progression and growth and what we're trying to do. And the ability, what I call, to have our personal advisory board, identifying some key people, man, woman, doesn't mean nationality, that are within your life that can help support you in different endeavors of your life and help you create your own personal board of advisory that you can talk with, run ideas by, and they can show you a tough love, but yet create a safe space for you to help empower you to move forward in whatever direction that you want to go.
And I think that's a crucial piece that I think a lot of people don't understand the importance of an advisory board, whether it's business or even personal. You know, even when you start out as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, you still need somebody to give you some insight and kind of check you sometimes when you get off balance. And that's what a good advisor, mentor, or whatever it is to help you to reach your goal. And I think that's great advice. All right.
It is.
Now, this title here, I like it. The consequences of being trifling. Raise it up a little bit more. Raise it up a little bit more so they can see it. There you go. The consequences of being trifling. And you got it said it seeks to examine the decline of integrity, personal value systems, and honoring commitments, and etc. Dive into the consequences of being trifling, Doc.
Well, that book, I wrote the title. You know, just as a fan of rap, you know, the hook, the title, that's the catchy part. Just like your reaction, that's what I put together. You see, I raised the book up. I already knew you were going down that path. But really, in terms of trifling in the realm of, you know, a lot of times when people hear the word trifling, they automatically equate it to what? Ghetto fabulous, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Those actions or reactions happen at all stages. White collar, blue collar, and it can't be stereotyped. And so with that, I write about, when I talk about when leadership calls, will you be ready? Those experiences, you know, going back to what is your word worth? You know, in terms of, does one overpromise and underdeliver, or underpromise and overdeliver? Going back to the basics of in life, you know, just enough is not good enough. You know, in terms of dealing with mediocrity and mediocrity in our society, excellence without excuses. You know, you and I, we know what excuses are. You know, but it's without excuses. That, you know, talking about that. You know, one of the key areas I talk about is all of us are important, but none of us are necessary. And being able to, not through our words, but our actions, to create a differentiator of whatever we provide, and realizing that, yes, all of us are important, but none of us are necessary. We could be replaced in a certain situation like yesterday. So being able to be confident, but yet not arrogant.
Absolutely. And that's a thin line.
We saw this past Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Difference between confidence versus arrogant. One team came in arrogant, you know what I'm saying? You know, their laurels, and the other one came in confident. We saw the difference of, you know, and so being able to look at those things and examine those areas. So I talk about those areas and really some of the areas to equate to life, your personal life as well as your professional life, and really some reflection questions to really dive in to for a person or for their organization that I really address in the subject of that book. And then one of the key areas in there is I address that sometimes you can have people in your circle but not in your corner. Circle people in your life and our experiences when you got your hand out, things going well, you got something to give, conveniently pop up. You know, you got your money, you got your pockets filled, everything is happening, and conveniently they're there. Mm-hmm. However, corner people are there if you're up, you're down. They provide you constructive criticism out of love, care, and concern. And they may not understand everything, but they're able to support you in your endeavors from up close or from afar. And so examining, and I actually do an activity in there where you identify your circle people versus your corner people.
And people don't understand the importance of that. I tell people, my circle surrounds my triangle. My triangle is the two people that's been there for me through thick and thin. That even when they didn't know what was going on, they was able to figure out something's going on. And I tell people, my triangle is my brother, one of my fraternity brothers named R.A.W. That's it, the triangle. Everybody else is outside that circle. And which fits with your concept, the circle and the corner. Because that triangle is nothing but three corners. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then on top of the thing that you was talking about, one of the valuable lessons my grandfather taught me early is, hey, all you have is your word.
Yes.
You got to make your word mean something.
Right.
And
Right.
people got to be able to cash your word in like it's money. They got to be able to cash it in. And you the one that put the value in that in your word.
Yes.
And then the next thing I want to share is when you talked about when your pockets are full, and I heard you say that be cognitive of how much you give, because those that's receiving don't have a limit.
Yeah, because givers sometimes don't have a limit, but takers don't have a limit.
Hey,
so
takers don't have a limit, Doc.
Yeah, you have to, in that quiet time, that reflection time I talked about earlier, you have to have the B word, boundaries, and work towards boundaries. And define what are those boundaries that you need in place for yourself. And when you put boundaries in place, you will realize quickly who are circle people versus corner people in your life. Sometimes when we learn to say no, no is a complete sentence. We learn to say no, we find out as far as the spaces, how people interact, particularly if you've enabled people and had no boundaries and they're just used to you doing something. It becomes, you dilute yourself. My two favorite artists, male and female wise, music wise, are Sade and Prince. The reason that they're my two favorite artists, one, I love their music, but they had a consistent foundation where less is more. So you didn't know when they were coming out with an album, but when they came out with an album or a concert, you better show, because you don't know the next time they are. And for them, they were not too accessible. And so the thing was, being too accessible, sometimes that can dilute your work. Because it's like, oh, that's just Reginald. He gonna be there. We know he gonna show up. Oh, that's just Reggie over there. Oh, that's just Woods over here. We know we can just pay him $1 because he gonna he just used to doing it. We know. Oh, he Dr. Woods. Oh, he Dr. Woods now. Well, we can pay him $2. We know we can go up to $2. So that's just Reggie from the hood. We know it was Reggie. He Dr. Woods, but we can still give him $2. And sometimes
I tell you this. Those that know me from the hood know I didn't go by Reggie, so they know they got the wrong person. Hey, I had an auntie.
That's your government name. It ain't the alias.
Hey, that was my alias. My auntie told me, because she wanted to name me. She said, hey, don't let people shorten your name. Your name is Reginald. Go by your name. If they don't like it, then you ain't got to deal with them. And man, you'd be surprised how many people will get upset when I tell them I don't go by Reggie. Well, my uncle go by Reggie. I'm not your uncle.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Or respect the fact that you said it once. Okay, let me pivot and shift and adjust. No harm, no foul.
But man, people got issues with it. But I don't give a care about people's issues. And before we move on to the hidden curriculum, man, one of the things that you talked about, the good, the great, the excellence, and I always like to share with people, man, be mindful. Good has never done anything great.
Correct.
Good is average. If that's where you want to stay, that's okay. But don't be mad at the people that want to go to great. And now, don't be mad at the people that want to go to excellent. I like that. All right, here we go. Now, this was deep to me. The hidden curriculum. Raise it up a little bit higher because your name is blocking it. There you go. The hidden curriculum. Dive into it. You say life lessons you won't learn in the classroom. Go ahead, dive into that.
This is my first book I wrote. Wrote in 2009, and really, when we look at as educators, we have a syllabus, we have a curriculum on that syllabus, and you either follow the curriculum and have the potential to do well. If you don't follow the curriculum, then you're not going to do well. However, when we flash back to life, our experiences in education, our experiences in school, experiences, as you said, with your grandfather, those were hidden curriculum experiences that were in that classroom that made you more of a man now, because those seeds were planted. Absolutely. That allowed you to grow in all various aspects of life. And what I do is I address what I call those hidden curriculum experiences dealing with life. And so, I talk about life as a hustle and how hustle gets a negative connotation, but how you hustling spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, and from a holistic standpoint. I talk about chapter 2 is thinking without any boxes at all so that you can create your own if you have to. A lot of times they talk about going from inside to outside the box, but I believe that there's a third element, and your true change agents, your creatives, movers and shakers, they borderline thinking without any box at all. So they don't put limitations upon themselves or work towards not putting limitations upon their greatness that lives within them and where they can get to. Or if they fail, it's about failing forward and not staying in that failure. And then chapter 3, really I focus in on learning to lead yourself before you can lead others, and how we have a lot of wounded leaders within our organizations. And that spirit of woundedness, if you don't deal with it, be transparent, it bleeds down within an organization, through the government, through education, through a church. It starts up with that leadership and it bleeds down. And as I mentioned earlier, if those pebbles are not addressed, those pebbles turn into stones, stones turn into rocks, and rocks turn into boulders that can hinder our progression and growth in our lives, personally, professionally, and civically. And then chapter 4, which is probably my favorite chapter, asks us one fundamental question. And it says, are you around people who celebrate you or tolerate you? And you have to break down the people who celebrate you and the people who tolerate you. And you'll realize that some people you thought on one list, but they flipped to the other list, or they flipped on the other side. And you have to identify what happened in those areas so that you can act accordingly, which plays a part of you creating your boundaries or your personal advisory board. And then the last chapter I deal with is staying ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And
not at all.
Know when that opportunity of preparation that you got to get ready for. It's like the rap song. You got to stay ready like Webby. And and really, keep yourself in gear, because you never know when that opportunity, you thinking 10 plus 0, and it may come 6 plus 4, 7 plus 8 plus 2. You never know how that opportunity strikes that may prepare you in a certain particular way to be prepared for life. And so you really have to examine those areas when we talk about life.
Absolutely. All right, before I go to the next point, I think we had, let me see, somebody trying to come on here. Stephanie, are you there? You have a question for the doctor? Or you just logging on? Well, all right. So let me ask you this, doctor. This is what I like to ask everyone when we on our way to wrap it up. Do you have any questions or concerns for me?
No, I not so much. The big piece I would ask you is, I'll make a comment, then I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
I appreciate you create this type of platform to be able to share, knowing that you're in mental health. It's key for us to be able to have opportunities to what I call do an emotional dump and not emotionally suppress, particularly as men. A lot of times having those platforms and we keep so much things bogged down within ourselves that it comes out in a negative manner, or it comes out where I go from 0 to 100 like Drake, when we need to address it at the 5 to 10 mark. However, what's key for us is having those platforms where it's a safe space and an environment for us to be able to vocalize and share. So I appreciate that as a statement standpoint. However, my question for you is, what sparked the interest for you to create this platform, the Raw Approach?
Great one. My dissertation is all about family service workers. I was with the Department of Children's Services for 10 years, and I dealt with the bureaucracy as it deal with family service workers and keeping them in the organization. Identifying what works to keep them there, and where kids are not suffering from the lack of services. Sitting in, as we're dealing with now through the state of Tennessee, just placing kids in random places just to get them out the office. When you got kids that's been in office for days in and days out. With that, I was noticing, is there a leadership style or leadership behavior that's more effective to find a retention or can curtail the turnover rate in the industry? And I focused my research in the Middle Tennessee area, from all the way down to Pulaski and up to, from different facilities. And I researched over I think 90-something participants, 4 different facilities. And then after I completed the research for the organizations that did not wish to participate, now they were like, hey, can I get a booklet? Can I get your findings? And no, you cannot. You can pay for it like everybody else. Yep. But when you had the opportunity, because in the disclosure, that was one of the things as a participant that you get to share the findings, and I will give it to you. And my thing is, just with a whole nother movement, I want to be able to find the steps to help employees to become more engaged. The RAW approach is respect, appreciate, and worthy. I want people to feel like when they go to work, that organization leaders understand the importance of respect. Number one, the workers there, they're coming, they're showing up. So make sure you respect them and don't talk down to them. Don't act like you don't need them, because I don't know about any organization that does not work well when the front of the house or your frontline workers is not there. That's number one. Number two, appreciate them, whatever that is. Show them appreciation. Show them a little bit something more than a pizza party every now and often. Dive in a little bit deeper. And one of the things that we did at the detention center, man, was put in programs. The same program modification and inspiration that we did for the youth, we did it for our employees. Man, the more that they feel value, allow them to have a voice. You know what I'm saying? If they said that they need a room to come and just relax, when it's tour day break, then we need to find a way to get them a room. If they need a TV to watch football on their break, we need to find a way to give them what they need, because in that industry, the more that they have to leave out that building on a 30-minute break, then they rushing and they really don't have that time to exhale. And lastly, worthiness, man. The workers come, they show up. that they want to feel worthy. They want to feel worthy of the organization. They want to feel worthy that the things that they put together, that somebody's actually listening, and they want to be able to see an impact on something that they done came together. You ask them to come up with a board and be part of a committee. What does that committee look like for them? And if you do not take all that stuff and bring about an implementation, and then most importantly, what a lot of people don't want to hear, sometimes the organization got to check themselves. That's the hard part. They got to check themselves, because if no matter how many people you hire, you got that many people walking out the door, that's a problem. And the last thing that I found, the Department of Children's Services, I think it was the 2023 data that they put out dealing with turnover, and they identified that their employee turnover was at 123%. That is ridiculous. So if that's 123% of your employees gone, that means you done lost your seasoned people, you done lost your experience, and you also losing the people out the front door. So pretty much you just asked out. So who suffers? The family, the kids.
Well, Dr. Woods,
that's my whole approach.
Within every disaster, there's an opportunity. It sounds like they need to hire us back to do some consulting work.
Hey, I done went there. I done talked to them. They don't want to pay their money.
Oh,
and then, because let me tell you what was asked of me. It was asked of me to come back and volunteer. And I said, don't take this personal.
Yeah.
I said, don't take this personal. But all them hours I was putting in this place, you calculate that and divide that up. I was volunteering more than I was getting paid.
Correct. That goes back to that Prince and Sade analogy I was just telling you. That goes back to that. Sometimes you're not honored in your own land.
Yeah. But it's one of them things and that's why I talk about I like that thing, and I asked you about, is it important to know when to leave on top? Because I expressed that. It is so important, because for me, when you leave on top, when you go create your own table, when you realize, hey, ain't nobody kicking me out this door. Maybe it's time for me to walk out before they kick me out.
Right.
Because if they kick you out, they don't want you back.
Right.
But if you walk out on top, I don't know about you, you look at athletes. When they leave on top, there's always a team that want them to come back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Somebody always wants you to come back. They're going to offer you so much. But sometimes you got to know, I done it. I'm good. Yep. Y'all got it. And my thing was, I leave it to the young folks. Because I think it's very important, and the value, as we talked about, the value is you got to understand your own value, and don't let nobody else put no value on you. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to let you have it. I was watching this rapper, and he was talking about when he first came out, he just wanted to get out there. And he was just asking for $250 just do local concerts. And then he said he was getting booked so much, he told his agent, hey man, we need to go to 2,500. He said it didn't slow down. And so he started telling him we need to go 25,000. He said it still didn't slow down. He said all he know, one day he looked up, he had so much money in his bank account, he didn't know what to do. But he had to learn the value of him. When everybody was saying, no, man, that's too much. If you got a valuable system to offer, it's never too much.
Nope.
It's only too much to those that don't want to pay you. And that's okay.
As I said
that's not
earlier,
your client.
As I said earlier, you never get paid what you're worth. You get paid what you negotiate.
Absolutely. All right, Doc, I appreciate you. I'm going to ask that you give the audience any closing remarks. Share with us your wisdom.
Yeah, I just appreciate this opportunity to be able to to share and be able to share some information and then have a dialogue and conversation. Talking with you, Dr. Woods, it was good to catch up. It was like a reunion and talk about value add proposition and just really knowing your worth as an organization. So I thank you for the opportunity. If you want to reach out to me, if I can help you or your organization, reach out to me at www.drr with 2 R's and my last name.com. But I appreciate the opportunity and I look forward to joining you once again.
Oh, consider it done. We will do it. Let me leave the audience with this. Don't lie to nobody. This is a valuable lesson, and I thank you for the continued confirmation. Don't lie to nobody. Put value on what you think is valuable. Negotiate what you feel is the value.